feeling like I'm in that end zone. I got my homies in a no new friend zone. You know, making plays that land us in the end zone. Coming in clutch, you can catch me in the end zone. End zone.
What is happening, people, and welcome back to In the End Zone UK, your go-to place for all things NFL and much, much more. So, week 7 is done and dusted. In all honesty, what was that? What beautiful chaos, what shocking finishes, what sloppy play, and somehow still one of the most entertaining weeks we've had this season. I can't wrap my head around it. I'm going to need help to do so. I have help with me. No Big Dave, just Lil Camo. But Lil Camo, welcome back to the pod, holding it down with me this week. What on earth was week 7 and how are you?
I don't really know what week 7 was. A shit show in places, somewhat entertaining, but yeah, very confusing, to be honest. I think that has sort of summed up this whole season so far.
Agreed.
But in how bad it was entertaining.
Yeah,
and there was obviously some big talking points, but man, there's some real bad play out there.
There absolutely is. And yeah, I mean, this week I'm calling this episode Slap or Slap. And that is because, in all honesty, that's what it deserves. This is a homage to our favourite segment, Slap or Sign. But this week, there is going to be some major slaps. There was so many poor, baffling, yet hilarious performances across the league that this week I've had to add an extra slap just to cover all the dross. So I think you're right, Camo, in what you said as well, in the fact that I feel like week 7 has summed up this year of the NFL, because you had upset wins, you had crazy last-minute losses, you had terrible quarterback play, you had terrible defensive play, terrible coaching, mixed with some teams that are just absolutely balling out. I'm not taking it away from the teams in the NFL that right now are doing exactly what they need to carve a path in the NFL to go to the playoffs and potentially compete with the Super Bowl. But I just think there's so much possibility. And I think it's good. And as you said, chaos, but entertaining. And absolutely, I was sat watching the Red Zone last night, not sort of kicking the floor going, oh, this is boring. Oh, this is rubbish. I mean, it was rubbish, but it wasn't rubbish to the point where I wanted to stop watching. It was, as I said, beautiful chaos. But I'm not sure that that's what I'm all about. It's definitely a fun factor, but this is professional football we're talking about, right?
That's it. I'd rather see some consistently good play, the top players making the plays. And I was talking yesterday, this season, it feels like you've got average teams and terrible teams. Very few good, elite looking plays, certainly not consistently. And that, yeah, it's a weird thing right now.
If this was week 3, you'd go, okay, fair enough. You know, teams are still finding their feet. They're still trying to settle down into the NFL. And don't get me wrong, we got a lot of that in week 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and now 7. It does feel like teams are taking a long time to properly establish who they are. And equally, some teams are what we thought they were, but they're just doing it so incredibly differently. We'll talk about some of them a little bit later, but there's a lot of teams that are getting the job done, but it just doesn't look like it is from the right places or the right reasons. And there's equally a lot of teams that maybe don't look that bad, but their score and their results on paper are awful. So yeah, it's a very strange place to be in the NFL right now.
Indeed. For me, I also feel there's a slight bit of fatigue. As a viewer, a little bit of fatigue. We've had back-to-back, like...
To-back UK games?
Yeah, and you're talking 10, 12 hours of football every Sunday. That is a lot to commit to.
It is. That's fair enough, Camo. I think if you've got that fatigue, fight through it. You know, we are here. We are ready to talk football at any given moment, or at least, you know, in the end zone, UK is. But I get what you're saying. I mean, I don't feel fatigued at all, actually. I was having the time of my life in the group chat last night whilst watching the dross on the Red Zone and laughing my head off to, you know, the debacle that were some of the teams that were playing. But I do know what you mean in the fact that it's a long time to commit to football on a particular day. I think, luckily enough, I just carved that time out to make sure that I'm doing absolutely nothing else. And I'd imagine that a lot of other people in the UK are used to doing that because we have to watch it at an ungodly hour instead of in the US when you wake up in the morning, you've got football all day and then you can go to bed. So, yeah, I get it, Camo. And look, we've got a little bit of a break from the UK games now. You'll be thankful. It's a couple of weeks before we get anything in Madrid and Berlin. So you can get your Sundays back for a little bit. Now, let's move into our segment that we celebrate every week. We are starting with Game of the Week. And for the second time this season, second time in 2 weeks, it's all about the New York Giants. The G-Men looked set for another unlikely victory, this time against the stout defense of the Denver Broncos. They were leading deep into the game and looked like they were going to shock everyone for another week after beating the Eagles until they completely imploded in the fourth quarter. Denver dropped 33 points in the final quarter to steal the game 33-32, which is just an unreal collapse. It's equal parts painful as much as it is surprising, jaw-dropping. My jaw was dropping on play after play after play that the Giants just kept giving these points up. But let's get into it. What went right in this game? How did it fall apart? How on earth does a team put up 33 points in a single quarter? Camo, the Broncos win this one in Denver, Mile High Stadium. What a game, though. I mean, or at least what a fourth quarter.
Yeah, but even the whole game, you had the narrative of, can Jackson Dart and Scatterboo do it again? Are they legit? Are they for real? And for 99% of it, they are. Like, they are fun to watch. And you do find yourself sort of cheering them on and wanting them to succeed. They bring fun back to New York, which hasn't been a great place to be for such a long time. And as you mentioned, what they done to the Eagles last week before that, they beat the Chargers. Then going into Mile High against one of the better defenses in the league, and they shut them out for so long.
3 quarters.
And
Denver did not have a single point for 3 quarters.
And they were just finding plays, doing exactly what they do. And man, to give up those points was just disgusting. He obviously threw the interception, which gave them a chance. So the Broncos were getting back into it, weren't they? They'd put up sort of 2 touchdowns then they threw the interception, scored off the back of that to go up. And you think, that's a shame. Game was done. The Giants come straight back and score. And you think, bloody hell, like, fair play to them, but couldn't see it through.
No.
Absolute drama and fair play to Broncos. I'm sure a lot of fans must have missed it because there'd have been a lot of fans leaving 20-0 down going into the fourth quarter.
There was a lot of people leaving. The stadium was half empty by the time they started coming back, which is crazy.
I'm not surprised. I do not like that Bo Nix.
Me neither.
I do not like Bo Nix. Do not like Sean Payton. But I absolutely do like watching their defense play. But yeah, I felt for the G-men on this one. Like, it would have been such a good, cool victory. It would have been not like last week wasn't a statement win for them. It was a huge win for them in the division against Super Bowl champions at home. To go into Denver and do what they done for 3 quarters of the game.
Yeah, this would have been a statement, wouldn't it? It would have been more than just a fluky, maybe one-off win against like the right schemed opponent of the Giants.
That's it. Any team can win one game. Putting back-to-back performances, and don't get me wrong, they've got a lot they can take out of this game, but that record is unfortunately is a loss.
I mean, look, we don't slap or sign anybody from the game of the week, and if we were able to, considering this episode is called Slap or Slap, I'm afraid the G-men would have been getting a slap from me, and it's got nothing to do with Jackson Dart. It's got nothing to do with Cam, CTE, Scatterbo. It's a coaching issue. Brian Daboll, I've been saying this for I don't know how long. He is ass. Brian Daboll is not a coach that you can get behind. This jolly fat man has come to life now that he's been able to string together a couple of, let's be honest, fluky wins with Jackson Dart. And now he's like this jolly, fat, bold, red-faced, shouty, angry, happy, smiley, weirdo, gnome-looking man. And I'm not here for any of it, because when it comes down to it, when it's brass tacks, you are up in the fourth quarter, you've held them out for 4 quarters, you just don't need to give up 33 points. That is your goal. Don't give up 33 points in the fourth. And this man could not scheme his team, put them in the best position possible to do so. I feel like they were still making questionable calls. They weren't killing the clock. You are against the Broncos. I get that. It's not an easy defense to run on. It's not an easy defense to even really move the chains on. But Jackson Dart did it. 280 through the air, 3 touchdowns, and an unfortunate interception. Cam Scatterbo only 60 yards on the ground, but he equally had a touchdown and another 34. So it's, nearly a 100-yard game. And they spread the ball out. They kept the Broncos guessing, but it's unforgivable. It's unforgivable. So if we were to slap anybody, Brian Daboll, the defensive coordinator of the Giants, would be getting it, because it's unforgivable. You can nullify a game in the fourth quarter if you are they weren't 33 points up, but if you are plus 20 something in the fourth and you've been able to keep them out for the whole game, it's just worst case scenario. You go deep coverage, let them complete everything underneath, and okay, they might score a couple of touchdowns, but hold that lead. Hold that top end lead. Don't let them beat you over the top. And that's it's just what happened. They just kept getting beat deep. And Bo Nix, like you say, Cam, I hate him. He's a spotty, crater faced cock. Excuse my language. But what I hated was it kept cutting to him and he's spitting everywhere. He's spitting on the floor. He's spitting on his own sideline. Like all football, soccer players do. I think it's gross. But him, at one point, he had his helmet on, his chin strap on. And I swear he spat into his own chin strap because he's a Hmong. And I was just like, you are Johnny Rotten. Like, you are somebody who I do not want to get behind, because he's there all pan-faced and whingy looking at Sean Payton, who looks like a dog that's about to pass on to the next life. And I am not happy about the Broncos at all. They got the win, well played in the fourth quarter. But for three quarters, you got essentially owned by the G-men. And a very young, inexperienced, high-octane Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo. The positives all come from the Giants for me in this game. As much as I'm slapping them, that's a coaching decision. I'm slapping Brian Daboll. I think he should get fired. He's so happy at the moment because he thinks Jackson Dart has saved his job. I think they should get rid of him and bring somebody who can actually coach a young quarterback into the mix, because Daboll, mate, he's proved he can't coach quarterbacks. Jackson Dart is not surviving on coaching right now. He's surviving on adrenaline, a one-read tuck and roll. If that's all you can bring to the table, Daboll, I could coach the fucking Giants. That's it. That's so unfortunate. Game of the week was a loss. It would have been great to see the Giants win. After us being in New York as well last week, Camo, would have been cool to be like, we are the omens. We are the good luck charm of the Giants. Since we've been there, they beat the Eagles and the Broncos.
Yeah, I was really excited when they went down and then managed to take the lead again. I was like, fair play, because that must have taken, they'd have been shocked giving up that many points, losing the lead, to keep some composure and actually take the lead.
Yeah.
Again, was huge, but ultimately meaningless as well.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, and I guess if we just talk about the Broncos, the rest of the Broncos for a bit, it shows that defense can get beat with a little bit of moxie and some ad-libbing in the quarterback pocket. They can't keep plaster coverage. They got beat on some busted coverage over the top. They're very healthy, the Broncos team. They're very healthy. There's no excuses there. You've got Hufanga, you've got Pat Surtain, you've got Allen, you've got Benito, you've got everybody that you need to be able. Singleton as a tackle monster. They have got no excuses, and they can walk away from this game feeling good because they've got the win. And yeah, fair play. The Broncos are 5-2 now. Like, they are probably sat atop of the AFC West. Yeah, they're 5-2 and 3-0 at home. But they're bluff in my eyes. They're a bluff team. They're a difficult defense to play against, but Bo Nix, this was like playing somebody in Madden when they've got nothing left to lose other than just hauling that ball downfield. You're going to come down with some. And that's where you've got to adjust your scheme and say, yeah, they are going to come down with some. They're going to try and score points here. Let's go into that deep cover 4. Let's allow things underneath. Let's not get beat over the top. Let's make them churn that clock out. Kill the clock in the fourth quarter, you idiots. Game of the week. There we go. It was at least entertaining. Again, good and bad. We enjoyed it. Hope you guys did too. Moving on. Segment 2. Slap or sign. So everyone's favourite segment has a bit of a twist this week. We're calling it slap or sign with an additional slap, because after some performances we saw this week, it feels like the entire league, or at least 50% of it, needs a collective backhand. For those that are new to this, how it normally works is we pick 2 players from the NFC, 2 players from the AFC, 1 to slap, 1 to sign. If they've had a shocking week, we slap them. If they've had a great week, we sign them. This week, we've added an extra slap slot because honestly, so many players need it. So Camo, let's start in the AFC and let's start positive. I feel like I've just had a bit of a negative rant about what was quite a entertaining game. So let's start positive. Who in the AFC impressed you this week?
This is someone that we've obviously mentioned a number of times on this pod over the recent weeks. And it's that man from New England, Drake May.
Okay, Drake May.
Lighting up the league right now. And he had an absolute day. He finished with a 90+% completion rate. I think he was 21 of 23.
Yeah.
And he just looks good. I don't think I've ever...
I thought you were going to say something more profound than good.
No.
He just looks good.
It does, though. Like, I've never enjoyed watching the Patriots play. Even with Tom Brady, you didn't want them to win.
Yeah.
What he's doing with this Patriots team, him and that booty, yeah, fantastic. Like, you cannot argue. I mean, they're sat top of the division right now. In a division with the Bills. They are top.
They are doing really well.
It's fantastic. So, yeah, I'm a big fan. I think me and Dave at the start of the season did say that the Patriots are going to be the most improved team. I didn't expect this. I didn't expect this result. Well, not this result. I didn't expect them to look like this at this point in the season. Yeah. He, at the minute, is top 5 QBs in the league.
Wow. Yeah, you're not wrong when it comes to statistics.
Yeah, I will say they were against an absolute shoddy Titans team.
They won 31 to the Tennessee Titans 13. But you're not wrong, Cam. Like 21 out of 23 completed passes, a pass rating of 135, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 222 yards. And I think he had 62 yards on the ground as well. The man had a 300-yard day and kept everything clean. It is, I just can't, I mean, I signed him, 2 weeks ago or a week ago? I can't remember, but I signed him because he played so well. I think it was the week after the Bills, and he played well in the Bills. But you are right. It's the eye test a little bit for me in that I do think that he is good. I just need to see more before I can buy into, a top 5, a top 5 scenario. Obviously, I don't think you're saying he's top 5.
No. Not everyone. If everyone was fit and healthy and playing,
but right now he's playing top 5 this season. Yeah,
he's easily And I mean, what do you say about the Titans as well? Like, I know Dave's not been on the last couple of episodes, and obviously the big breaking news last week was they finally fired their coach. And at the start of this game, it looked like that had a very positive reaction. They scored points early on.
Yeah.
And then tell you what, Cam Ward done some very rookie stuff.
He did.
That fumble recovered for a touchdown was one of the worst things I've seen.
It was It was bad. It was definitely Will Levis-esque, let's say, in a Titans uniform. It was like flashbacks, PTSD. Is that Will Levis undercover? No, it's Cam Ward. But I said this in the group chat, and I've said it to a lot of people, and obviously I've had private conversations with Dave, which are much more expletive than maybe podcasts can be. But it was awful. And Cam Ward, for everything he's doing well, he's doing like two things badly. The problem is that they said they were going to simplify things this week. They said that they were going to, go back to fundamentals, not ask too much of Cam Ward. And they had that opening bomb to Chimere DK for, 38 yards, touchdown, really nice, good throw on a rope. Loved it. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. And then it's just the same old. And I think you're right, Cam. It's like, it was one of the worst plays this season, deserved of a slap, if not for the fact that he's not in a good place. Like he's not surrounded by the talent that he needs to be able to survive, I guess is probably the right word. And he will survive. He's going to be the quarterback of the Titans for the next few years, and they're going to build around him. And I think there's a twinkle of something in there, but there is also something real bad in there that he needs to like just cool and calm down. He should be allowed to make mistakes though, because he's a rookie, but the problem is that team is not built to allow your quarterbacks to make mistakes. It can't stop anybody on defense. You can't run the ball. You've got no receivers who can go up and take 50-50 snags for you out the air. And yeah, the play that you were referring to, he didn't even get touched. Like it was just hassle. That's all it was. He was under pressure and the ball literally fell out of his hands into the end zone for a touchdown, which to your delight, you had the Patriots on defense for fantasy. So I'm sure you were cheering on the Patriots very heavily at that point. But I felt for Dave, if I'm honest, in that moment, because Dave has had such a hard time with the teams. And then you turn around, you see the Giants doing what they're doing. They found their, let's say, franchise QB. I still very much don't believe that Jackson Dart is the guy. And yeah, and it's just, I want Dave on this podcast, and unfortunately we just can't get him at the moment because he's busy. But I want to hear the take. And for the listeners out there, Dave is being actually very patient. Don't get me wrong. Doesn't mean there's no anger, but he's being a very patient man. I think he keeps telling me all he wants the Titans to do is just, if they don't use all of their capital in this offseason on offensive and defensive line, he's going to be super pissed. And you can kind of see where he's coming from. The teams that are succeeding at the moment have got strong offense lines, defense lines, and it gives your quarterback a bit more of a chance. But yeah, Camo, sorry to barge in on your slappage. Your sign.
It's actually a sign, yeah.
Yeah, it's turned into a slap. So back to the Patriots and Drake May. Do you think that they can continue this, or do you think it's a combination of them having played some bogey teams as well as playing the Bills, which is fair, and beating them?
Well, you think they've got to play the Jets twice this year. They've got to play the Dolphins twice this year. I favour them in those 4 matchups straight away. They've got the win away at the Bills. I think they'll get to about 10 wins. Yep.
Playoffs, then.
They'll be in the conversation. They'll be in the mix.
Right.
Which is, yeah, interesting.
If you're a Patriots fan, it's all you want to see, isn't it? Because you've got a year 2 quarterback now showing signs of, let's say, elite play style. Like signs, not necessarily he is elite, but he's showing opportunity of being an elite playmaker. That's all you want to see in your second year, right? Like, and then you we found that guy, let's build around him.
Yeah, he looked good in his rookie year. And there's been a lot of QBs recently that have looked good in their rookie year. To come back and take a year 2 leap, that's the bit that's impressing me. Is
to be better.
Yeah, and I don't think he's got much of a, I'm sure all football players do, but attitude, ego, it just looks like he wants to play football and is cool. Let me just play every Sunday. I will do my job. He's not out here doing stupid dances or whatever. He's just turning up.
His head's screwed on, for sure.
He's just turning up. It's good.
No, nice. Okay, Drake May. Drake May gets a nice big sign from Camo, and the Titans, unfortunately, within that conversation, do get a slap, even though it's a byproduct. We aren't slapping them, but they sounded like they got one. And they've got a lot of building to do. Titans fans need to be patient. Dave is being patient. So 13 Titans, 31 Patriots. Where am I going to sign in the AFC? I'm taking us all the way back to Thursday Night Football. I'm taking us all the way back to the Steelers versus the Bengals and Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco, fresh off the plane, not been with the team for more than 10 days, already played one game and looked okay against the Packers, a very good Packers team in the second half, but ultimately lost. To then go against the Steelers defense that so far this season has been pretty stout, and he carved them up like a Thanksgiving turkey. I know we're not there yet, but we're getting close, so the Thanksgiving puns can begin. But he carved this team up. Joe Flacco was 31 of 47 for 342 yards and 3 touchdowns. He only got sacked twice. He had a passer rating over 108. To be honest, his game plan was throw the effing ball at Jamar Chase as many times and as fast and as hard as possible. And that's what he did. And I guess that could be the motto for any quarterback playing for the Bengals, because Jamar Chase is otherworldly. This could have gone to Chase because he just makes anybody's job as a quarterback easier. He had 16 receptions, 23 targets. I've never seen that before, personally. I think it was a franchise record for sure. It was definitely a season record of receptions. He had 161 yards and a touchdown to Jamar Chase. But he was targeted. They threw the ball at him 23 times. I don't know whether that's good or bad. Like, I don't know whether I'm impressed by that or absolutely outraged.
What I would say, I think that's good coaching.
Okay.
You've got a guy in Flacco who, yes, he's been playing this season. He's played some good games. He's new to the team. All you're telling him to do is give it to the best person on your team. Why do other people not do this? We have arguably the number one wide receiver in the entire NFL. Why would you spread it out?
Yeah.
Why would you go, we've got Jamar Chase over here, but I got this tight end that no one's really ever heard of. Let's throw him the ball. Or, why not absolutely light up your number one guy, the guy that you have paid so much money to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You make a good point.
It is sensible. You paid your quarterback and your number one receiver. Your quarterback goes down injured. So you lean on your strength. And he is that.
No, you make a lot of sense there, Camo. Absolutely. And that's, don't argue with it. Can't argue with it. They absolutely did it. And Joe Flacco did it. And I think his presence in that team, having somebody who's been there, done it all, seen it all. Obviously, Mike Tomlin was fuming that the Browns did an interdivision trade because he probably knew that Jamar Chase and Higgins, in the hands of a competent quarterback, are obviously always going to be difficult to contend with. It either goes to show how bad the backup for the Bengals was, how maybe, this is going to be really harsh, maybe not as good as we think he is, Joe Burrow is, because when you've got an off-the-street Joe Flacco putting up 350 yards, 3 touchdowns and carving up the Steelers, you kind of go, yeah, that makes sense when you've got Jamar Chase and Higgins catching touchdowns in this game for a combined 250 yards. And you kind of go, yeah. I mean, Joe Burrow is good. And Dave did message me this as well. So Dave is sort of hanging around the podcast in spirit and just said, is Joe Burrow actually that good? If Joe Burrow was on the Panthers, what would the Panthers look like versus a team that can throw at T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, 2 of the best contested catchers in the game? And paying them seems to make sense, I guess, when you can roll Joe Flacco in.
We've said this so many times recently. It's where you get drafted determines a lot. It says everything. Like, look at all of these quarterbacks that get drafted into bad situations. They get told they're crap, get booted out of the league basically, only for them to try the next guy who, guess what, is in that same bad situation. It doesn't work again. Joe Burrow's obviously been drafted into the Bengals. Look, I'm a big fan of Joe Burrow. I like the way he plays. I think that's the thing. I like the way he plays football. But you get help. You cannot have one person that wins this game.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a one-man team. Yes, you need certain positions, but he landed in a fortunate place to go get, and the fact they went double down and got his college receiver in Jamar Chase obviously helps so much. They had a connection that worked. It's been able to translate onto the Bengals.
And onto Joe Flacco, seemingly.
But I then go back to, that's Jamar Chase is the best receiver currently in the league. Most people should be able to throw him.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
because
true.
he is that good to be able to get himself open or catch those contested balls that, as the quarterback, you don't need to be perfect. The fact that Joe Burrows is very accurate with his balls just adds to it.
For sure. And you are right. Jamar Chase is unequivocally the best receiver in football right now, and probably has been for the last 3-4 years. He absolutely is. So Bengals keep feeding him. I mean, they won this game and it was tight, 33-31 against the Steelers. Great game, actually. It was nearly the game of the week, if not for the Bengals Giants craziness. But Rodgers had a great game as well. 250 yards himself, 4 touchdowns, but he had 2 interceptions. One of them was not his fault. One of them absolutely was his fault. They also looked great on offense. What really let me down in this game, which it let me down in fantasy as well, but more to the point, let me down just in terms of a watcher, was Steelers defense. Man, you know what, you've seen Joe Flacco play. You played him nigh on the last 10 years. You know, every single week in, week out for the Ravens and whoever else he's signed for. Do something about it. You've got Cam Hayward, you've got TJ Watt, you've got Highsmith, you've got people who can really get after the passer, and they didn't. I really thought that they could hit home. I think they thought that they could hit home easily in this game and put pressure on Flacco. They got to him twice. He carved the life out of them. And in this game, Jalen Ramsey looked awful, just looked slow, looked cooked. Darius Slay, same principle, looked cooked. Their secondary, whilst it's been solid enough this year, if it's put to the test, does not hold up. They need to be able to get that front 7 pass rush, hurry up for the quarterback to be able to stay on top of some of these defenders. Because as soon as you go into sort of chase mode or scramble drill mode, they get burned. They're not good enough. They're too old. Really, really not good. Yeah, I feel like the Steelers, the rose-tinted glasses for who's been thinking the Steelers are amazing this year, need to come off, because actually their strength at the moment is their offense, which is wild when they've got so much money on that defense. The amount of money that they're paying those players. I mean, Patrick Queen, TJ Watt is record-breaking money. Cam Hayward's getting a stack. There's no doubt that Darius Slay and Jalen Ramsey are getting a lot of cash. It's poor. And Mike Tomlin also annoys me a little bit now. I think it's time for him to go. He's not bad. He's a good coach. But yeah, called it.
He'll get you to the playoffs.
But he's not a good enough coach.
No.
So, yeah. But, I mean, Aaron Rodgers throwing balls all over the place to every tight end possible, scoring tuddies, playing really well. Well done, Rog.
Yeah, at least you can go out having put a good show in. I do want to actually see them get to the playoffs, because I want to see Rodgers in the playoffs to have his last game be a sort of meaningful one.
Okay, I like that. I think they will be. I don't think that they're going to...
That division's
fall off.
In trouble, isn't it? So, yeah.
It's a weird one. Okay, Joe Flacco gets a sign. We move over to the aptly named slap or slap part of this podcast, and we have to slap some people in the AFC. So we got doubles this week, Camo. You can throw those hands left, right, good night. Who are you slapping in the AFC first?
I'm going to slap Justin Fields. It could have been anybody involved in the Jets organization. I think Aaron Glenn, it's amazing what you can do when you're at the Lions with the most amazing O-line with Gibbs and Montgomery, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, do whatever. You can literally do whatever you want because they have basically got a fantasy team. The Jets aren't that. And this was a absolute shocker of a game. This was a New York Jets 6 to the Carolina Panthers 13. So the Jets are 0-7, which is as bad as it can possibly be. And Justin Fields ended up getting benched in this game, which is
good.
Yeah, it's
deservedly
good.
So it was
terrible. It was terrible. He was 6 of 12 for 46 yards, but the play was just dog shit. And for you to be that bad that you've been benched for Tyrod Taylor, who came in, and don't get me wrong, he came in and also looked terrible. He was really 10 for 22, 126 yards and 2 interceptions, which, what I would like to say, one positive from this game, JC Horn looked incredible.
Yeah, he's a good corner.
He looked amazing. His interceptions were fantastic. But my God, the Jets. I cannot tell you a positive for this team, for this organization, where they need to go. In my opinion, what they need to do is Breece Hall, trade him, stockpile picks, get the number 1 pick, and try and start again. Because your defense is a very, very good defense. The
problem is, I think it's on its way out, Camo.
It's not what it was
2 years ago.
No, and every year these players are only going to be on maximum 5-year contracts, but their contracts are going to be loaded. So actually, they can't afford it all. So your strength isn't going to be there, and actually, your strength isn't as much as if your defense can hold a team to 13 points. Your offense isn't putting up enough points to even win that. Justin Fields is not the answer. Tyrod Taylor is not the answer. Christ, go get yourself a rookie and at least try and put some energy and excitement into a new rookie.
Yeah.
When you're someone like Justin Fields and you are bouncing around from the Bears to the Steelers, I understand players have found places, like Baker Mayfield has gone and done it. But actually, if a lot of teams are saying you're shit, you're bad. And this game, at one point in this game, it was a Tyrod Taylor versus Andy Dalton QB matchup. That's how bad this game was.
Really, really bad. Yeah. No, I absolutely agree, Cam. And Justin Fields getting the slap is way worth it. He is now officially the most losingest, if that's even a word, but he has the highest losing percentage of any quarterback in the NFL ever to have started more than 50 games.
What's his win ratio?
I don't know. Low. The lowest ever.
About 10. Yeah. Probably win about 10 out of 50.
If that.
Yeah.
It's probably lower than that. So he is the most losingest quarterback ever in the NFL, which is not a statistic that you ever want to be associated with. And he looks like it. Like this guy, I said it again in group chats and stuff, but like at the end of the half, the Jets, it was tight. You know, this game finished 13-6, so they were still in it, even right at the end, which is almost a slap in itself to the Panthers, which I'm not giving, but it is almost a slap-worthy event that the Jets were playing that awful that you still only win by 13 points. It is atrocious. And the end of the first quarter, the Jets were just, I was going to say marching. They were absolutely not marching. They were crawling towards a field goal. The only thing that Justin Fields needed to do or not do was take a sack. What did he do? Just like the week before when we slapped the life out of their coaching, he took the sack out of field goal range, couldn't call a timeout because they had none left. That was it. Time ran out. No points before the end of the half again. And it would have been a long field goal. Don't get me wrong. It would have been a hell of a field goal, even from where he was before he got sacked. But once he got sacked, it was like, oh, there we go. And you saw him just run off looking all angry. And it's like, dude, you have got apparently some of the best wheels in the NFL as a quarterback, yet you get constantly sacked, constantly pressured.
Yeah, I haven't seen him use his legs effectively at all this season.
And that's a problem because that's all he's got. I thought, and this is again coaching, I thought they were going to design around him as a quarterback, make him a run first, make him a, Make-A-Wish Lamar, set up QB draws, have him run behind fullbacks, that kind of thing. They haven't done it. They're asking him to do things that he can't physically do. So yeah, it's a great slap, Cam. It's a great slap. They deserve everything that they get. They are 0-7. This team, if they bench him and they don't go back to him, which might happen, they could be a winless team this year. The only team that they might have a chance of beating is the Dolphins. But even that, I don't think they do. It's really, really bad for the Jets. And as you say, the only solution now, fire sale, everybody.
I mean, they could get something. They could get quite a bit for Sauce. What a washed-up cornerback he looks.
He doesn't look good, Sauce Gardner. I think he's overrated. Me and Dave have said it since the first season that he came into the league. He's not a good corner. He's got a lot of respect on his name because of where he was picked, but actually he's handsy. He gets called for penalties all the time. He's a weasel. He's built like a weasel. Don't rate him. I wouldn't imagine they'd trade him just because I wouldn't imagine.
The only two people I think they wouldn't trade would be him and Garrett Wilson.
See, I would trade Garrett Wilson if I was them. I would. Because he's not the player. I mean, Sauce isn't either, but let's forget about Sauce because I think it's more of an opinion. A lot of people think he's a great corner. But I don't think Wilson is a good enough receiver for you to be like, he's a cornerstone. We're keeping him. I think he's good, but I don't think he's good enough for you to be like, he is a non-negotiable, non-tradable player. I actually think that in the hands of Josh Allen, for example, you pick up Wilson for maybe a second round pick, and then the Bills have got a legitimate deep threat receiver. That's what I would do. They won't do that because it's an interdivision. But some team would do well to get hold of Wilson. Breece Hall, no doubt. Camo. I think the only two players you don't trade, or one player, is Quinn and Nelson. You keep hold of him. Everyone else is up for grabs. Everybody else is up for grabs, and you start again, Jets. You are a poverty franchise. Poverty. As bad as it gets.
Yep.
And Aaron
Glenn is not doing himself any favours.
He's got to be gone. He has to be gone. There's been a lot of conversation about all these new quarterback, new coaches this year. Oh no, we're going to give him, irrespective of the outcome, we're going to give him, the year. Hell no. You're going to give what? Give him the year to continue to be bad. I get that you shouldn't necessarily fire a first year coach within the first year, but he's making it look as close as you can get, because there's more than just, scheme decisions here. There's on-field issues that are causing them to lose games. So, poor. Can I give you a slap? Not you physically, but...
Yeah, go for it. Slap us away.
One of my AFC slaps, and we'll roll through these a bit quicker, I guess, because we are taking some time, but by golly, is it worth it? One of these is another team that could couldn't get a single thing going this week. And for this year so far, I've not been able to do so either. I'm slapping Geno Smith and Pete the Meat Carroll from the Vegas Raiders. This, I can't believe what I was watching. And I can believe that the Chiefs can dump on teams, and they got Rashee Rice back, and that made a huge difference this week. 31 to the Chiefs, a big old goose egg 0 to the Las Vegas Raiders. But Geno Smith threw for 67 yards, Cam. 67 yards the entire game. Ashton Genty was the leading rusher on the Vegas Raiders. He rushed for 21 yards. They threw Kenny Pickett in at the end of this game to throw 2 completions for 8 yards. This was almost unequivocally the worst offensive outing I think I've ever witnessed in football. And I only realised this. Obviously, the eye test is one thing. You're watching them and you're going, this is dog crap. But those stats that I just read you out there, 67 yards for a franchise, apparently, quarterback of Geno Smith. No touchdowns, no interceptions, nothing. He basically was a homeless ghost out on that pitch. He accounted for nothing. he may as well have been like one of those machines that just fire a football in one direction. Jug machine, just firing it into the abyss. He was awful. And the Chiefs were great. You know, the Chiefs firing on all cylinders. You can say enough about the Chiefs. How good do they look? How good does Pat Mahomes look? Yes, all that is true. All that is true. Pat Mahomes looks great. Kelsey looks like he's got a bit of a resurgence. Getting Rashee Rice back is going to change the outcome of the Chiefs, narrative of the season. Absolutely true. Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, Juju, Tyquan Thornton, all these players that have had to do it themselves are now part of a team, and they are just ready to demolish. And then you've got Steve Spagnuolo just whipping up the mix to try and get McDuffie and Nick Bolton and Jones sacks and picks, and they're doing all those nice, wonderful things. Great, good for you, Chiefs. Everybody knows that I am a pro Chiefer. I like the Chiefs. Great. But I am actually, I don't know. I'm not over the Chiefs. I'd like to see other people win. I don't want to see the Raiders win. It's just bad. It's just Pete has come out of retirement, even though it wasn't retirement, it was forced retirement, and he should have just stayed there. The guy is great. What a human being to be 78 billion years old and still running up and down the sidelines and calling plays. Good for you, Pete the Meat. You don't have what it takes anymore. They interviewed him after the game and he was like, yeah, they just played a better game than yeah. And it's like, yeah, Pete, you can't even think. So how on earth are you supposed to win games? They were telling him, did you try this? Oh, we tried everything, man. We tried everything we could. It's just like, oh, Pete, that's not the Seahawks Pete that I know. That's the Pete, the Ric Flair style winningest Pete who wins 10 games a season without blinking. That guy's gone. He's retired. He's in the folks home. So the Vegas Raiders, man, they get the slap. Geno Smith, the best thing about it is that he crucified after moving to Vegas. I never felt at home in Seattle. Never felt right. Fair play. I hope it feels right now.
Yeah, for me, Vegas is such an odd place for players to go. Ever since they moved the franchise there, it's not been good. They've not found their team in Vegas yet. And it's a shame because what a cool place to have a team.
Amazing.
But yeah, they've got nothing to get behind. Not a single thing I like about that team. And I was never a fan of Pete Carroll or Geno Smith.
No.
He's awful.
Really bad.
And the only thing I like about the Raiders, Max Crosby. And he went out injured.
Yeah, that didn't help.
Like I said, there are a lot of bad teams this year. And there's a lot of teams. Getting that number one pick is going to be tight because actually there's a lot of crap right now. So some real bad teams are going to end up with the 5th, 6th pick instead of the number one pick in a normal season because there's a lot of mediocrity right now. And it's actually, like I say, they look terrible. Actually, I enjoy watching. I think the Chiefs looked great.
They did. And
seeing what they're trying to do now, yeah, they are looking consistent as well right now. Yeah, exactly. They had a rough start to the season, but they've won 4 on the bounce now. Yeah, they're looking good.
Yeah, I'm not poo-pooing the Chiefs, by the way. Like, it's more just the fact that I know what the Chiefs are. I think is like, they're going to be good every year. They're actually looking better now than they did this time last year.
Yeah,
and they still made the Super Bowl. So, like, just watch out AFC, especially when you've got like the Ravens, the Bengals, even the Bills. Like, the Bills still look like a powerhouse, but even when those teams are the teams that you think they're the ones that are going to stifle the Chiefs, and then you've just got the Chiefs just charging through, just just bulldozing folk. Do you have another slap for the AFC, or are you doubling in the NFC?
No, I've doubled in the NFC.
I've doubled in the AFC, but just join in this slap with me, Cam, please. Just raise your right hand for me.
I feel like I'm about to swear in at court or something.
Pledge an allegiance to slapping the absolute back doors off, slapping the life out of Tua Tagovailoa and Mike McDaniel. Please, do you agree with this slap? This is my bonus plus slap. Do you agree?
I agree that they are absolute garbage. that Tua is seeing things out there, and that Mike McDaniels, I'm going to say it, by 48 hours time, he's not going to have a job. Like,
Nice.
it is awful, almost to the point where I'm bored of saying how bad they are.
Me
Because
too.
it is, yeah, I don't know. They're lost. And for his health, he needs to stop. For Mike McDaniels, weird looking, tiny dude, I don't know, go back to college and try and be inventful or something. Because what you're doing right now is
It's not fit for purpose.
no. And the team that they've tried to build a particular style of team that's just not worked. They went all in on speed, right? A chain, the quickest running back. Tyreek Hill, the quickest wide receiver. Waddle, arguably almost
The second
finally
quickest
be
wide receiver.
just as quick. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because unless they're open way down the field or you're getting it to them in space, you're not doing any of that. Like,
No.
it's, yeah, they need to just stop.
They lost 31-6 to the Browns, to the Cleveland Browns, who have been hot garbage, this whole season as well. 2-5 is their record. The Dolphins are now 1-6. Dylan Gabriel did not throw over 120 yards, didn't throw a touchdown. Quinton Judkins is great for the Browns, by the way.
He's having
amazing.
a great season.
What a running back he is. They've replaced Nick Chubb without skipping a beat, which is awesome. He had 3 touchdowns in this game. But back to Tua and Mike McDaniels, they're awful. What bothers me the most is the on-field stuff, I guess, is the on-field stuff. And you go, yeah, okay, Tua's not very good. McDaniels is not a good coach. But it's how they conduct themselves after. Like, Tua blames everybody else. I reposted something on the In the End Zone yesterday where Tua was accused of being a turnover machine, essentially. He said, one of the reporters said, why do all of your turnovers come in bunches? And Tua said, are you crazy? He literally said, are you crazy? You're talking crazy. He stood there standing at the podium having thrown 3 interceptions, 2 in the last game, 2 earlier in the season, 2 picks, like game-sealing picks week after week, which is why he's been slapped by me at least now 3 to 4 times this season. I'm not targeting Tua. I try to keep our podcast very, very open, and I try to make sure that everybody gets talked about. But unfortunately, Tua's making it really hard to not talk about how ass he is. 3 picks in this one, Camo, and one of them, in fact, all of them were terrible, but one of them was god awful. And it should have been a pick 6, but they managed to tackle him on the 2, and it turned into points anyway. It was Tua has got CTE. That's it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. His brain is cabbage. Like, that's it. He's got nothing in there. When he's getting interviewed, you can see it. He's hunting for things to say, and it's like, you're delusional, mate. He's gonna go full Antonio Brown, this guy. And then when you talk to McDaniel, he's coked off his nuts 24/7. He is a absolute drug baron. Like, the guy looks 12/68. I absolutely could not even pin an age on this guy. He's standing at the podium in his high tops and his skinny, tiny little baby bird ankles. He looks haggard and he looks like he's jonesing for the next hit. And he can't answer succinctly. I want somebody to stand up there and go, guys, look, I'm making bad calls here. I'm picking the wrong plays. Practice isn't going the way that we want it to. We're coming up against better teams. Instead, he starts to like spin off like mystical riddles. It's like, well, sometimes a bird in the hand's worth 2 in the bush, and beedly-doo. And it's like, come on, bro. Just stop. So, yeah, Tua needs to be benched. Probably needs to not play football anymore. And Mike McDaniels needs to be fired. And Camo, you predicted it. 48 hours, he'll be gone.
Yep.
So let's wait and see. Oof, this slap or sign is going long, but I'm doubling down on these slaps. I don't care how long it takes. We are going to give people, the world, what they want to hear. So that's the AFC done. Let's move to the NFC, Cam. Let's go good again. Let's get back onto the positivity track. Let's go NFC, and let's go NFC sign for you after we just spoke about the Dolphins getting bust up by the Browns.
So Look, this was not a very good game at all. In fact, it was a very boring game. The teams played. It was calling the same plays, both teams, but one just managed to operate and do it better. I'm going to sign Christian McCaffrey from the 49ers because everything that the Niners season, everyone knows the amount of injuries they've got there.
Yeah.
And McCaffrey won himself coming back from sort of injury. What will he be this season? The man is just putting up yards and yards, and now touchdown after touchdown. He had a 202-yard day, and I think 2 touchdowns. And my word, he's keeping them alive in a division that is very strong right now, in just the general NFC conference in its entirety. This is a team that shouldn't be relevant with the amount of injuries they've got.
They should not.
And somehow, some way,
they're 5-2.
they're 5-2, and he's just looking better. And you know exactly what they're going to do. They're just going to run the ball or receive the ball to McCaffrey, and he will take it for 8 yards a play. And what should be scary for other people is they're starting to get some players back. And the fact that they can lose one of the best defensive ends in the league, lose the best linebacker in the league, lose their starting quarterback that, I mean, I don't think is very good anyway, but to lose your starting quarterback, to lose
top 3 tight
one of the top 3 tight ends, to not have a receiver of worth on your team, but yet you win. You find a way, and the way is McCaffrey. Like we were saying earlier with the Bengals and feeding Chase, feed the best player on your team.
Yeah.
They're doing that, and guess what? He keeps on producing. And it does baffle me why other teams don't do this.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to spread it out? Why are you trying to get other people involved? I know people might not be happy if they're not getting targeted, whatever. People know exactly what you're going to do, yet still can't stop you. That is a winning formula.
Yeah.
That is a winning formula. And he, as the amount of injuries he's come off the last few years, to be what he is right now, how many touchdowns has he got this year? How many yards? It's disgusting. And I don't see it stopping. I think he's fantastic. And
it's only actually going to get worse.
If he can keep the Niners relevant and getting into the playoffs, which in your divisions are tough, it's a big, big ask. My word, he is fantastic. And fair play to you, Christian McCaffrey, because I thought you were pretty much washed up coming into this season.
Yeah. I mean, he led them in rushing and receiving this week. Both. Number 1 rusher, number 1 receiver. I heard something earlier this week with Kyle Shanahan saying that if McCaffrey wanted to make the move full-time to a slot receiver, he would be the best slot receiver that the Niners obviously have. He'd probably be one of the best slot receivers in the NFL, to be honest. But instead, he's a running back that turns into a slot receiver, that turns into a screen machine. That this game was exactly what you said, Camo. The Falcons played the Niners at the Niners' house. Falcons 10, Niners 20. And this was a battle of who's better, Bijan Robinson or Christian McCaffrey? That was literally
that was it. It was the QB takes 2 steps to the left, dumps it off for a little screen type pass, and which running back can take it further? You just didn't. You couldn't stop him behind the line.
In this game, McCaffrey looked like the better back, albeit Bijan is obviously great as well. But yeah, you're all right. It's a bit crap, unfortunately, and I nearly slapped the Falcons actually, just because they're so hit and miss. Yeah, exactly.
Penix is not the guy, I'm afraid.
But 1 week he's not, 1 week he is. But then I guess most weeks he's not, and Bijan is the one that you need to look out for. But they're so one-dimensional, and they go from like getting shut out by the Panthers to beating the Bills to then getting beat by a broken Niners team, and that's not a huge disservice because a lot of people and teams have been beaten by a broken Niners team. But it just makes no sense. Yeah, what are they? Like, I think we've got to play them at some point. The Seattle Seahawks have got to play them, and
I wouldn't feel comfortable.
Them.
I wouldn't feel comfortable playing them because they can I think
I
their
guess so.
defense. I think their defense is starting and trying to turn up a little bit. Bijan, what he can do though is
Yeah,
disgusting.
it is.
Unfortunately for him, McCaffrey has shown I've been doing this for about 10 years now.
And I'll keep doing it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's crazy the consistency he has when he plays.
No, fair play. Big sign for old Christian McCaffrey. It's annoying because it was an NFC West team. You think, okay, I know you don't want to see teams have injuries, but you think that, okay, here comes an opportunity, when the Niners get injured, you think, okay, maybe we can capitalize on this opportunity. That NFC West, man, is balling. The Rams balling, the Niners somehow balling, and the Seahawks playing very well at the moment as well. So yeah, it's just disgusting. Should I hit my NFC sign?
Yep.
My NFC sign is Dakota Prescott. This guy, Dak, is doing things that not many quarterbacks have done. He has had this season, I think, 4 or 5 back-to-back 3-touchdown games. And I think I read this somewhere, but I haven't got it to hand. I'm pretty sure the only players in history ever to have done what he's done in back-to-back 3-touchdown games
or something. Yeah,
it's Tom Brady, it's Aaron Rodgers, it's Mahomes,
Drew Brees,
and somebody else. But like that is the caliber that he is producing at the moment, and it needs to be respected. I don't like the Cowboys. Historically, I have hated the Cowboys. But actually, and forget Jerry Jones because he is a geriatric knob. But Jerry Jones aside and all the America's team aside, when I watch the Cowboys right now, I don't hate them. I don't hate them because
you're going to get entertained as well.
Yeah. It's they're playing good football. That's the thing, and it's like
their offense is playing good football anyway.
Yeah, sorry, their offense is playing good football. They're playing good football on offense. That is the point. That is why Dak gets the sign, not anybody else. But CD Lamb coming into the mix, George Pickens coming into the mix, even Javonte Williams, a non-signing that you thought when this happened during the season, it was not fantasy implications. It was not this. It was just, okay, so they've got a running back now. He's actually playing really well. They're schemed really well. Like they're playing great football, and
their tight end is looking great.
Ferguson looks fantastic. It is. They're playing great football on the offense. It's almost like the only thing they need to be really relevant and dominate in that NFC East is a game-wrecking pass rusher to take some pressure off the corners. Wonder where they could get one of those from, which is just bonkers. The fact that they had Micah Parsons and let him go, because we'll get onto it, but he is exactly that difference maker for the Packers, and a full-on get-out-of-jail free card at times for an offense that is struggling or a defense that needs some juice. And the Cowboys put a hurting on the Commanders this week, and I thought that this was going to be fairly close. It was not. Cowboys put 44 points up, 44-22, and it never looked close, if I'm honest. Dallas went up 17 points, or they put 17 points up in the first quarter. They just didn't stop. 17-10, 14-3. Like, they just kept scoring. Jaden Daniels looks like a shadow of his former self. He didn't have Debo. He didn't have McLaurin. He's playing short-handed. I get that. Who cares? Dak Prescott's
and he's now got injured again.
And he's done his hamstring, yeah. But who cares? Like Dak Prescott could sit there and go, I ain't got CD Lamb. I ain't got a tight end that anybody knows the name of. And instead, he's turning the alternatives in George Pickens, Jake Ferguson, into absolute monsters.
The thing is, he's actually been doing this for years. Yeah. A lot of his games, they're always high scoring, and he will throw that ball. At times, we've called it desperation, but when you do it consistently, is it desperation, or is he actually just a very good deep ball thrower?
I think it's the situation that makes it desperate, is that the Cowboys seemingly always need to keep putting points up because their defense leaks them. I think that's the issue. But if they had a Broncos type defense, good gracious, they'd be Super Bowl winners. That's how good they would be. They just don't have that defense.
Yeah,
So
the idea of Pickens and Lamb as a 1-2, that's a 1-1, isn't it, at the minute? The way Pickens is playing. I know Lamb sort of had the better of the day yesterday, but on any given day, they can both come out. And Pickens comes down with some ridiculous catches.
He does. He's been doing it all season, hasn't he? He's been doing it all season, all of his career, really, coming down with just crazy catches. But you are right. If a team decides to take Lamb out of the game, double him, whatever it might be, you got to contest with what is a 1B receiver in Pickens, and then this Jake Ferguson who's just catching touchdowns for fun, which is mad. And then they've got a solid run game. Like I say, Javonte Williams had 116 on the ground in this one. And what, 2 touchdowns? No, 1 touchdown. But still, look really, really good. Really, really good. So the Cowboys are 3-1 with a draw on the mix. I don't know where to put these guys. I think with the Eagles not playing the best football, the Commanders are clearly I think age has caught up with them, realistically. Like all of their running backs, look at the rushing yards in this game. Jaden Daniels, 8 rushes for 35. Mariota, 2 for 30. Jakrowski Merritt, who's supposed to be their great running back, who I took in fantasy, has been absolute ass. So watch out, waiver wire. He's hitting you soon. Jeremy McNichols and Chris Rodriguez, they couldn't muster anything between them. Terrible play. I don't really know what to make of the Commanders. I think all I know is Marshawn Lattimore is washed. All I know is Von Miller is washed. Preston Smith's there, Camo. This team is made up of OAPs, man. The only OAP on this team that is balling out is Bobby Wagner. And I love Bobby Wagner. The guy's a goat. So everyone else that they've signed that is over the age of 32, 3 is shitting the bed, unfortunately. And that's what will continue to happen whilst they've still not got a good offense. Yeah, Dakota Prescott gets the sign. Over to the slappage. Camo, you've got 2. So you can do 1, I'll do 1, then you can finish with your final one. So who you're slapping from the NFC first?
So both my slaps come in the same division. They are both in the NFC North. I'm going to start with a slap to the ginger man himself, Carson Wentz of the Vikings, man.
Okay.
Well done. He threw for 300 yards, 2 interceptions, but it was just the manner of his play. He looked awful. He's taking bad reads, just tosses the ball up to be intercepted. He's fumbling and losing it. I do not care that, yes, I get it. JJ McCarthy hasn't looked great really this season either when he played. I know he's only had sort of a couple of games. Yeah. But right now, I would be playing the other rookie quarterback than playing Carson Wentz. Because what's the worst that's really going to happen? You're going to lose a game. You're going to lose a game with Carson Wentz in anyway. So they lost this one 28-22 against the Eagles. But I'm sorry, it was never close. You never felt like Wentz could lead you back into this game. It got closer at times. I understand that. But he is an absolutely terrible quarterback. Playing against his old team, you think he might want to try and show up, have something to prove. It's not. The interceptions were awful. Yeah. And they just, every time they got close, their defense couldn't stop the Eagles when it mattered. The Eagles in this one actually decided to throw the ball, which was a nice surprise. AJ Brown caught 2 touchdowns. Devontae Smith had an absolute bomb for about an 80-yard touchdown. And that's the frustrating thing about the Eagles. Everybody knows they can do that. They've just really chosen not to for large parts of this season. Saquon has not had as stellar a season as he did last year, but
that's been nice.
He almost had an absolute record-breaking year last year. So you're not.
It's been nice though,
because it's year in year out. But
you're not. But when you go the other way and say, you're not going to necessarily go and compete for the record again this year like you did last year. But it doesn't mean that you have to essentially fall off a
18
cliff.
carries for 44 yards, Saquon, this game.
2.4 yards a carry, which when you're throwing the ball 320 yards, fair enough, but it was because it wasn't working. And there was a lot of, I'm not going to say there was desperation in there, but there was some deep shots that maybe presented themselves because they were heavily loading the box. But that's poor calling by the Vikings. Aside from, what's that? I guess 18, 25, 22 yards. Aside from 22 yards between Shipley and Goddard, the other 300 yards plus came from Devonta Smith and AJ Brown. Two receivers going averagely 20 yards and 30 yards each on average per reception. That's insane.
The problem is that shouldn't surprise many people because they are an elite 1-2 again. It's just the fact that the Eagles haven't been doing that. I think it's frustrated a lot of people. But back to the Vikings, I don't know what to make of this team. They need to get JJ McCarthy back so they can at least look at him, evaluate him, and see what he can do on the field. Because like I say, he's had 2 games and they didn't, apart from 1 quarter, it's not looked good. The direction of this team is a confusing one. I think Addison could easily end up being traded somewhere. And yeah, I'm not going to say you end up trading Justin Jefferson. You don't. You keep him at every possibility that you can. Addison certainly could end up being traded somewhere else. But for such a talented offense, they've got everything you need. They are in a loss without a quick quarterback.
They really are. And at this point, you sort of go, Carson Wentz, I don't know whether they're playing him because McCarthy's injured. There's still this apparently niggling injury with McCarthy, but I actually think that they're holding him out. There was a comment saying that it's his mechanics. So they're sort of saying like his leg mechanics. So it's sort of like insinuating that it's an injury issue, that he can't move his legs the way that you want him to, or is it the fact that he just doesn't do the things you want to? I think it's the latter. I think it's more they're protecting him by not putting him in immediately. You've got to rip that Band-Aid off though, because can he have a worse, I mean, it's possible for sure, but can he have a worse game than Carson Wentz? 26 of 42, 300 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. It doesn't get a lot worse than that because he's not thrown anything of worth. He's not thrown.
He's thrown yards. That's it.
Yeah, and he's not ran one in. And at least McCarthy's younger. He's got some legs on him. He can maybe extend plays. That's it. He's thrown some yards. But who's not going to throw yards? You say the same thing about just dialing it up for Jamar Chase. Just pepper Justin Jefferson. It's the same principle. It's the same principle. I mean, Addison had 120 yards, 9 receptions in this one with 12 targets. Jefferson had 10, targets at least, but with only 5 catches, which just shows you the type of balls that were being thrown his way. It's a really tough position for the Vikings because I think with one more loss and the landslide begins, and then you're throwing McCarthy into an even higher pressured situation. I feel like if he's healthy, this next game is a must start for him, because if they start and he wins, they go to 4-3. If he starts and they lose, he goes to 3-4. There's still you can still continue your season salvaging that type of thing. If he comes in and they're already 3-4, and then if he loses his first game back and they go to 3-5, it's just a snowball. I think this is like important times for him and important times for the Vikings. You use your number 1 pick on this guy, for God's sake. Say it with your chest. Stand by it. So
it's tough, isn't it? And I just don't know I don't know what I expect from them. But right now, as talented as they are on offense, I expect them to lose.
Agreed. They don't look great. Sorry to your brother and to JFX out there who must be week in, week out at the moment pulling their hair out because it's not a fun place to be. But the quarterback is the most important position in sports for a reason. You can't dilly-dally around that stuff. You got to get it locked. NFC, slap. For me. We haven't spoke about these guys all season. And I'm sort of slapping them because just, what are you? The New Orleans Saints. I'm slapping the whole team. They're not quite as bad as the Jets because they can move the ball. They're 1-6 rather than 0-7. But you are in that conversation for that number 1 pick, Saints, and you are Is it a race to the finish line to get that number 1 pick? I don't know. But if so, I think the Jets win it, followed by these guys and maybe the Titans. But they are a poor, garbage excuse of a franchise this year that historically it's got so much rich history in it, in the Saints, in being so dominant on defense. Your Drew Breeses, your Jimmy Grahams, your Michael Thomases, your Alvin Kamaras, he's still in the team, but 11 rushes for 28 yards this week. Come on, Alvin. And he's saying, I don't want to get traded. I think you should. You don't want to go out like this. You don't want to go out like this, Alvin. You've still got the juice. I've seen it. I can see it. If he played for a better team, he's still got something. Don't spend the last twilight years of your career at this bottom feeder of a franchise. Spencer Rattler is not bad. I don't want to get
better than I expected.
Yeah, I don't want it to get misconstrued. Saints fans out there, you're probably wanting to lynch me right now, throw beignets at me or whatever you do in Louisiana. But I'm not coming for you. I'm just saying this is fact. The team's ass. Spencer Rattler does not look bad, but he's also not your answer because you're not winning games. That's simple fact. Like, he's good. Spencer Rattler, I think, is your premium backup. That's what it feels like. It feels like Spencer Rattler is your Jacoby Brissett of the NFL. He's somebody who you can go, do you know what? Let's throw him in for a couple of games because we've got problems. He might win a couple. That's where I feel like Spencer Rattler is. If he was to be a starting quarterback on any other team, bar the Saints, right now, does it make them more exciting? I don't think so. I don't think it makes any team better. Maybe the Jets, but that's, we're talking semantics when we talk about that. So the Saints just really need to, if you're heading towards this get right scenario where you're going to just cut a bunch of players in the off season, get younger, get healthier, get more explosive from the draft, then great. I'd imagine they've still got money issues. The Saints always
they've been in
issues.
cap hell for so long.
Yeah, but it won't be as bad as it has been because it can't be. It just can't be after all these years. But the Saints this week, they lost 26-14 to the Bears. And this was to a Bears team that didn't look good. Like
their defense is showing up week in, week out.
It absolutely is. And their defense is definitely better than it used to be, or at least for the last 3-4 years. It's definitely giving them a chance to win. But Caleb Williams, you're not telling me Caleb Williams, like 172 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick. That's not a passer rating of 61. Like Spencer Rattler was the better quarterback in this game. DeAndre Swift is having a resurgence somehow, even though he's still at the Bears, but he had 124 on the ground. It's just, I don't know. I don't think the Bears are good either. They're 4-2, but that's going to drop off soon. That is going to drop off soon. They're not going to continue to be this relevant in that NFC North. It's too powerful. It's too stacked. They're going to get some losses. The Saints, unfortunately, I think are going to continue to keep losing. Chris Olave, Spencer Rattler, two bright sparks, maybe not top tier. Chris Olave is very good. Again, maybe a possible trade candidate, but probably try and keep hold of him, I guess. Demario Davis got to retire soon. Cameron Jordan got to retire soon. Alvin Kamara probably got to retire soon. These players, they're not going to be around. You got to move on. You got to get healthier. You got to get younger. You got to get more relevant. I think that's the point. The Saints are irrelevant. They have got no worth.
No. As much as Rattler's trying, they're not beating anybody.
No. So it's kind of like a pity slap. But when you're 1-6 and you're losing to the Bears and you just can't get anything going, you deserve a slap. And this was nowhere near as violent a slap as the other ones have been this week. This was more of just like a tap. Sorry, Saints. Camo, your final slap of this slappage week. Where are you going? I've got a feeling it's
I'm going
close.
I'm going home. Yeah.
You're going home,
absolutely going home. I'm going to slap the secondary of the Green Bay Packers. But it got absolutely carved up by yet another backup in Jacoby Brissett of the Cardinals. Thankfully, we managed to find a way to win this game 27-23. But we did not look good doing it. probably quite unfortunate for the Cardinals. But it just seemed every time it was third and long, Jacoby Brissett would just toss it up and we'd not have a man anywhere near the ball. And the Cardinals could just come down with it. So many like 3rd and 17s or 3rd and 12. And this was obviously an issue going into the season. We knew about it. We saw it. Couldn't even tell you, like, we're saying that Keyshawn Nixon is our number 1 corner. The man's a fucking return dude. That's all it is. But yet he is our number 1 corner. And Nate Hobbs, our big off-season acquisition to shore up the cornerback position, has maybe been one of the worst cornerbacks in football this season. I like our safeties in McKinney, Bullard, but when you've got a return guy as your best cornerback, and my days, we just let Brissett throw the ball wherever the hell he wanted deep on us. All we were praying for, and thankfully it came in enough times this game, was our front 7 to get pressure on the quarterback, and it did. We had Rashawn Gary with a strip sack. Micah Parsons came up with 3 sacks in this game. Linebackers were side to side. They were covering everything and actually playing very, very hard. Quay Walker was, a bit of an animal.
Yeah, he's class.
But if you manage to get the ball out and over those linebackers, teams could feast on us, and it is dangerous. Our offense was not great this game, and weirdly did get saved by our defense, but that was nothing to do with the secondary. We need to go out and do something, because we're sat here with Valentine, Nixon, Hobbs. They're shit. You go get anybody and pretty much you are upgrading at cornerback for us.
Yeah.
So, we were very fortunate. We were down this entire game. We were chasing this entire game. And it took for a franchise record field goal at one point to bring it into a 6-point game. We hit a 61-yarder with our kicker that's only been in the team for about 10 days. Lovely, great. But that's desperate.
It was desperate, yeah.
Our whole offense was pretty desperate.
It was desperate, yeah.
And coming into the game, Josh Jacobs had a calf injury and an illness. So he was playing, but you could tell he wasn't exactly himself. I don't understand. Yeah, get that. But normally he would touch the ball a lot more.
Right.
He only touched the ball 13 times in this one. He had 55 yards, 2 touchdowns. But I don't understand our play calling either. First drive.
Sounds like you're slapping the entire Packers, mate. If I'm honest.
I'm not happy. It was a tough watch. We got the win. We got the win. Fantastic.
For the listeners out there, this is Camo's privilege that we're listening to right now. This is a man slapping his own team that just won a game to go to 4 wins this year. He is not happy that they didn't blow the back end out of the Cardinals and is instead sitting here trashing everything but his front 7 because they nearly didn't beat the Cardinals. This is what you call Packers privilege, and I've got zero sympathy for it. I think it's preposterous, to be honest, that Cam is even slapping these amongst all the slaps that are happening this week. Camo is slapping his own secondary that ultimately beat the Cardinals when it shouldn't have. They were losing the entire game until the final drive of the day when they gave the ball back to the Cardinals to try and do something with it. They were losing the entire game, and yet they still win. They are the worst team in this game, yet they still win. But Camo's still not happy. Good teams win when they play bad. You've got a good team at the end of the day. Your corners are trash. But aside from that, everything's all right. You're a Packers fan. You're going to make the playoffs. You've got nothing to be sad about. Carry on. Whinging.
Boo hoo. Yeah, no, just not happy. The play calling sucked as well. But like I say, we got the win. We're sat top of the NFC North.
Oh, must be horrible.
Yeah, it is. You just want more.
Of course you want more, you greedy bastard. Of course you want more, you greedy bastard. The Packers are 4-1-1. Of course you want more. Unfortunately, Camo, you haven't got Brett Favre. You haven't got peak Aaron Rodgers right now. You've got Jordan Love, who is a good quarterback. He's probably going to continue to get better. You're going to keep winning. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. Your corners are shit. Don't worry about it. You've got the best defensive end in football. You'll be fine. You've got two of the best linebackers in football. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Probably the best running back in football, or one of, no, aside from maybe two. You'll be fine. Quit the whinge. All I can say is imagine Dave on this podcast now. This would be hilarious. He would put you back in that basket quicker than you could say lickety split. But that is the end of Slap or Sign. We've finished with Cam's Packers. It's a fair slap. They did get owned in the secondary. So fair enough, Camo. But they got the win. So Slap or Sign is done. And there's a few games that we have not covered. So we'll move into our game recaps before we do our game previews of the two games left to come on Monday night. So a couple of games that we didn't talk about, Camo, because of Slap or Sign. I'm quite surprised we didn't talk about this game, to be honest, because this could have been a sign for any single one of us. The entire organization could be a sign. The Indianapolis Colts, 38 against the Chargers, 24. Jonathan Taylor, 3 touchdowns. Justin Herbert, 420 yards through the air. The Colts are the most well-rounded team in the NFL right now. They can put it on you through the air. They can put it on you through their receivers. They can put it on you through their tight end. They can put it on you through their running back. They can put it on you on defense. They are... DeForest Buckner is having a season. Kenny Moore is a great cornerback. Latu is playing amazing. Danny Dimes is having an MVP caliber season. They won this game 38 to the Chargers 24. And as much as Herbert put 420 yards up, he put 3 touchdowns up. He threw 2 interceptions. It all seemed desperate. He was throwing to Gadsden. He had 119 yards to Keenan Allen. But this was all Herbert throwing long on 4th downs when the game has already gone. Like, it just felt so desperate. Can't take it away from the numbers, but the Colts were coasting in this one. They were just moving the ball, kicking a field goal after scoring 3 touchdowns with... it's just mad.
Jonathan Taylor is disgusting. What so he good. Does is...
so good.
Yeah.
Best running back in the league right now, isn't he? Gotta be.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah. It's that thing again. It's that thing again of he does this all season, should be MVP. MVP will end up going to a quarterback.
Yeah.
But right now, he's the best player in football.
He actually is. I said the same to Dave because Dave messaged me saying Daniel Jones is playing MVP level right now. And I was like, he is. But I think Jonathan Taylor is the MVP.
Yeah.
Because he's just, he runs through gaps that either exist or don't, but he makes it very rarely in the NFL do running backs make it look easy. Saquon made it look easy last year. Jonathan Taylor makes it look easy this year. Derrick Henry.
It's just guaranteed yards.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Guaranteed tuddies as well.
He's going forwards.
Yeah. Guaranteed tuddies. Like that. All he does. How often does he break out and have these 3 touchdown games?
I'd say, is it 3 or 4 that he's had this season already?
Yeah. It's freaking ridiculous. He's a fantasy god. Like, bow down to Jonathan Taylor in fantasy. Like, what a player. That was the one season after his breakout season where everybody drafted him first. Yeah. He got injured and then that was it. But otherwise, he's a fantasy god. So Colts win. Chargers fall to 4-3. Colts are 6-1. They are one of, if not the best team in football right now. Amazing work by the Colts against the Chargers. We didn't talk about the UK game, the last of its kind this year. And I say what a game it was. What a performance it was by the Rams. So they come into Wembley Stadium. This is not the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the normal stadium for the NFL teams. It's not a bespokely built NFL pitch. It is normal grass that you play soccer on. But the Rams, this is why the NFC West is so brutal. Because the Rams just also look unbeatable. They look so good. They've thrown a couple of games away this year. One to the Eagles, and I can't remember who else. But it was bad decisions, bad this, bad that. Overall, I also think Matt Stafford is operating as a potential MVP candidate. He's getting no love from that conversation, but he's a pure and utter operator. How many touchdowns did he throw this week? 5.
5. Yeah.
5 touchdowns. He only had 180 yards, but that's because that's all he needed to do.
And no Puka Nacua this week either.
Yeah. So he threw 3 touchdowns to Devontae Adams, and that is it. That is it. It's like you play to the best player you've got. You've said it all, podcast Camo. We say it again. They load and load and load Puka Nacua when they need to. If he's off, I throw it to my next best player, who happens to be one of the best receivers over the last 15 years in Devontae Adams. And he comes down with 3 touchdowns in the UK. They only landed in the UK on Friday, played on Sunday, they fucked off home. That was it.
I think they landed later than that. There was like
14
hours from landing to play.
Yeah. Mental. What a different approach. But I mean, I trust Sean McVay. Sean McVay is
on the other hand,
coach.
The Jags look awful.
Woeful.
The amount and how early they kept going for it on 4th down. They'd get to like the 30, 35 yard line and just stall out.
Yeah.
If they'd have kicked a field goal on every one of those drives, they'd have had about 12 points. At this point, they still had 0. Until the last few touchdowns went in, that would have brought them back into a sort of reasonable place. For the Jags, Travis Hunter got his first touchdown, but besides that, don't really care.
No, whoop-de-doo. It was garbage time. It was garbage yards. It was Trevor Lawrence literally trying to just throw the ball away, essentially, like just trying everything he could. That man throws the ball closer to the line of scrimmage than anybody I've ever seen on a frequent basis. He like scrambles forward, and then he's like, "Oh, I still want to throw it," and then throws it, and either gets called back for a penalty or just manages to get it off. I just don't know what to say about the Jags. What a fall from grace! What a fall from grace Trevor Lawrence had from Clemson to the Jaguars. The best quarterback to ever walk the walk of college football to this pooey Jags team who back-to-back weeks, Seahawks then Rams, have just been absolutely pwned by 2 class defenses. The Rams defense is class, by the way. Their front 7 is nasty.
Yep. And they just get sacks.
They do.
Sacks. And some more sacks.
They do.
And best teams in the NFC right now for me are Rams and Bucks.
Agreed.
And
top 2.
That would be the NFC Championship on deserved right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they are both playing very, very solid football.
It'd be actually quite a fun championship game.
It would. I'd want the Seahawks there, and I'm sure you'd want the Packers there, but it would be a fun one if they're not. Yeah. So, they're well deserved, and Baker Mayfield, Matt Stafford are literally playing lights out football. Like 5 touchdowns on the road in the UK, breaking the UK touchdown record. Matt Stafford just sort of walks off like, there's another 5 for you. That is a man who breaks records for fun.
He's, I don't want to say underrated, but in terms of what he's done in his career, the way he plays football,
I think he is underrated because he is having an MVP caliber season and nobody's talking about it. So
I'm not even going to say just this season, just throughout his season, throughout his career, what he does. And I'm very glad he went and got a ring.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. There's some players that deserve to have won it all. He's one of them.
Absolutely. So that was the Rams, Jags, 35 to the Rams, 7 to the Jags. That was the last game in the UK this year. So that is the international series for Old Blighty in London is done. And we've had a good time. I think they've not been the best games, but they've been interesting and they've brought some more awareness to football in the UK. We didn't manage to get to any in the UK this year, Camo, but we will definitely try next year. We actually decided to go further afield and get to some US games this year, which we've already done one and doing one a little bit later in the year in old Nashville. So that should be fun. And that's our game recaps. All done and dusted. And as we come towards the end of the podcast, Cam, I just want to talk about the games that we've got left in game week 7. And that is Monday Night Football. And the NFL has ruined Monday Night Football by putting 2 games on instead of 1. They've already confirmed that they will not be doing this moving forward. I think it's been a terrible mistake. You're missing games on the prime time window in the Sunday schedule. You're not getting those big time games because usually they're big games. Instead, they're putting 2 on a Monday. That's not what we want to watch. Last night, we were begging for some good football. I'm not saying we're going to get it, but we were begging for some good football last night. And instead, you've got to now spread your time on a Monday to watch the Seahawks versus Texans and the Bucks versus Lions. I mean, 2 great games. 2 sneaky good matchups. The Seahawks and the Texans both have something to prove. The Bucks and Lions could turn into an absolute shootout. Could be a defensive slugfest by the Seahawks and the Texans. Camo, let's talk about my boys, Seahawks versus the Texans. This is at home at Lumen Field. Real quick, just what have you got to say about that one? What do you think the outcome may be? And a little bit of your side of the tale for the listeners.
Yeah, no, I think you end up winning this one. The Texans have not been what I'd have expected this season. Don't get me wrong, you aren't as good at home as you are away currently, but I think this could be quite a big win for you if you manage to pull it off. Like I say, the Texans haven't been great. They've got a very nasty defense.
Very.
So can your offensive line hold up? But no, I see you winning this 28-17.
Okay. I mean, Camo, if that comes to fruition, I'll be a very, very happy man. I think the Texans are primed to be able to beat the Seahawks. They've got a lockdown corner in Stingley that I think could really cause problems for JSN. They've got a dirty pass rush that's going to come at Sam Darnold from both sides. And I think that that's essentially it, is that you take those things away and stop the run. And I think the Seahawks are going to have a hard time. Equally on offense, as much as the Texans have not been what they need to be, they are healthier. Nico Collins, Stroud, they found a running back that they like. They'll test us. I think it could just be a defensive slog. I think, like you said, this could be huge for the Seahawks. I think we can win, but when the season started, obviously I had this down as a loss. Like I chalked this down as this is the Texans, we are the Seahawks, what is going to happen? And I had this chalked as a loss. So I'm not changing that of my predictions. I feel like we can absolutely beat them. I just think that I think this is the biggest game of the season so far for us, because we've got a bye week the week after. We could go into the bye 5-2. That would be massive for the Seahawks to get a bit healthier, because we're not the healthiest. Get a bit healthier after the bye week and then continue. If we can get the win beforehand, great. I mean, look, the Seahawks defense has got every chance of being able to be a nuisance for CJ Stroud. We're coming off a really good performance, but we'll wait and see. And then the Bucks Lions, what are you making of that one? For me, I'll put it out there, this could be one of the games of the season.
Oh, it has everything possible to be a game like that. I need it to be a quite high scoring offensive game for fantasy reasons.
Every chance?
There is, absolutely. I think the Lions game plan will be the run to try and control the clock. The problem is you've got Baker Mayfield on the other side who just doesn't know when to give up. So there's going to be some excitement, and this game comes down late to the fourth quarter.
I think the biggest thing about where this game is. The biggest thing about this game is where it is. It's at Ford Field, and the Lions are a total different team when they're at home. And I think that the Bucks are going to have a lot to deal with. They can contain the run, but as we've seen this season, they can get into a sling-off. And with Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams, Laporta, there's a lot of weapons to have to cover, as well as Montgomery and Gibbs. And I just don't know if the Bucks have got it. Equally, the exciting thing for the Bucks is I think Mike Evans is back, and I think they've got Emeka Ibuka, maybe. They're both game time decisions. I hope Evans plays because I've got him in fantasy. But I think that could be huge for Baker Mayfield to get ultimately Mike Evans is still their number one receiver, right? Arguably, Ibuka has come in and maybe changed that game moving forward. But right now, Mike Evans is their number one.
I also really want to see Mike Evans continue his 1,000 yards a season,
Hmm.
and he needs 79 yards a game for the rest of the season to do
Right.
it.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him do it. I think it'd be quite fun.
I actually think I want the Bucks to win this one.
Oh, I 100% want the Bucks to win this one.
You definitely do, definitely being in that division. I just think of the two teams this year that deserve to win and
Baker Mayfield
essentially,
deserve to win.
essentially Lions will go to 5-2, Bucks will go to 6-1. I do think the Bucks deserve it. It's just gonna be a hard ask in Detroit. So yeah, that's our games coming this evening. That's our games coming in this evening. Should be good, should be fun. We'll wake up tomorrow and see how they feel. But for now, game week 7 is done. It was a wild one, a messy one, hilarious one in places. It reminded us how unpredictable football can be. So many teams are playing right on the edge of good and bad right now. So many players begging for a slap this week in Slap or Slap. Make sure you follow us at In the End Zone UK. Send us your slaps if you've got some this week. Until next time, football is life. We'll see you in week 8. Cheers, Camo.
Peace out.
Catch me balling like I'm in the end zone. I got my homies in the no new friend zone. You know, making plays that land us in the end zone. Coming in clutch, you can catch me in the end zone. End zone.